So I made these 3 reading goals this year. I was going to read 12 classics sci-fi, and an unrelated, undiscussed video where I'm also reading a lot of old books. And I want to read something new. I want to read something that came out recently. So what I did was I went onto my credit card statement and I took all my credit card points and I put them into a Barnes & Noble gift card. And I went to Barnes & Noble and I just had a fantastic afternoon where I bought a coffee, walked around, and just picked whatever book looked exciting. I bought 5 new books, new hardback books. I don't know if I've ever bought this many new hardback books that I just saw just for fun. And I know it makes me sound like a consumerist asshole, but like, I want to have books. I like having books. They're beautiful objects and I want them. I want to have them. Am I allowed? Here's the thing. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 15, and for the next decade it was like year-long lease, you're moving every time. And I didn't buy books because it sucks to move books. And it wasn't until very recently where I was like, you know what? If I want books, I can just have books. I'm an adult. And if I move, you know what? I'll just donate all the books. And whoever goes to the thrift store to buy them will be very lucky. I want to have them. Like, we're in the age where we're seeing, like, the internet being erased. Like, physical media is disappearing. And, like, I want to have the books. I want to have the books that I like. And when people come over, I want to shove them into their hands. And I want to say, like, take this book. It's beautiful. I imagine, like, my future teenage children just like looking through my shelves and being like, what's this about? And I can tell them, I can give them the book or something, you know? Let me have my books. I don't know why I'm so defensive. It's probably the shame pile over there that's making me defensive. Because you see, I kind of released myself to buy books. And now I go to the thrift store and like once a month I buy like between 3 and 10 books. And so I just have a giant shame stack of books that I really want to read, but I just haven't. It's not my fault. I live in Boston. You know, there's like 25 colleges here. So when the college students move, they donate their books because it sucks to move books, and I get to buy them all. And I have been. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Who cares if I spend like $20 a month on books? It's really not that big of a deal. Maybe I should do a video on my shame stack TBR, but this video is about my new book TBR. I just went and I picked 5 books that looked cool, that looked fun to read. And now I'm going to tell you about them and also hopefully read them very soon. My new goal is to read these 5 books in the next 5 months because we have 5 months left in the year. That's 1 book per month. That's super easy. So this is Sipsworth by Simon Van Booey. I've never heard of him. I was drawn by the cover. It's an older woman just like watching a sunrise, I imagine. Here's what it says. Following the loss of her husband and son, Helen Cartwright returns to the village of her childhood after living abroad for 6 decades. Her only wish is to die quickly and without fuss. I love it. I love books about old people, and I love when people talk about how old people can like still have new adventures and they can still do things with their life. And just because they're old doesn't mean that it's over. And this just sounded really like heartwarming and fun, but also it was just so pretty. Look how pretty it is. The next book I also bought just completely for the cover. It's The Once and Future Sex by Eleanor Jangea. So she is a medieval history professor in England, and it just looked really pretty. This book is about the role of women in society in the medieval times, but also how that differs in the way they're portrayed in like art. And it sounds really exciting. I'm always a little nervous about reading like pop history books because of the way I know how pop science books show science, which is no, it's not great. But I mean, I'm not a historian, so I can have fun with it. I won't even know if it's bad, but it looks beautiful and I hope it's really good and I hope it's a really interesting history. And like, this is what I'm talking about when I say I want a book on my shelf. Like, look at this specific cover. It's pink. Like, it's beautiful. I want to have this in my home and I'm so excited to read it. Okay, so the next one is also literary fiction, like Sipsworth, which I just learned is genre, and I think that is my preferred genre. It's called All Fours by Miranda July, and again, it's just so pretty. I picked it up because there's a quote from George Saunders on the front. It says, "A giddy, bold, mind-blowing tour de force." He wrote Lincoln in the Bardo, which is one of my favorite books that I've read recently. I think it came out like 10 years ago, but it's like not a classic, and it's so good. And I was like, well, if George Saunders thinks this is good, it must be good. But listen to the paragraph. A semi-famous artist announces her plans to drive cross-country from Los Angeles to New York City. 30 minutes after leaving her husband and child at home, she spontaneously exits the freeway, checks into a nondescript motel, and immerses herself in an entirely different journey. So that paragraph is all I know about this book. I love to go into a book like this blind. Like, is it going to be like Gone Girl, or hopefully something better than that, like something more interesting to say about who she is as a woman? I'm excited to read that. And also, it's so pretty. I love the colors on this book. I can't believe I went and spent $100 on books, just being like, these are the pretty books that I want to have on my shelf. Okay, next I got Moonbound by Robin Sloan, and oh my god, look at it. It's so pretty. Robin Sloan always has really good book covers. Let me show you some books I got at the thrift store. So, Robin Sloan also wrote Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore and also Sourdough, which I love. I love both of these. They're so weird. They're kind of fantastical realism, but they're so fun and they're so weird. And I got both of these from the library years ago, and I read them in like a day. And then I saw them at the thrift store for $2, and I was like, I want them. I've already read them, but I want them in my home. I want them on my shelves. And I don't even have the shelves. I just have the shame stacks. But you know, one day, and now I have the third, and I think this one's a sci-fi book. I don't want to know what it's about, but it's so pink. I love it. 11,000 years from now, a lot has happened, and yet a lot is still very familiar, and I don't even want to read anymore. I want to read this book. And it's so pretty. I'm so excited to have it. I think this one like literally just came out like a few weeks ago. So I'm excited to read that. And the last one I got at Barnes & Noble, I think this came out like 2 years ago. I guess I could just look. Does it say in books? It says copyright 2021. So this is like 3 years old. But for me, it's still new because I've been reading books from the 50s and the 1914 and stuff. This is the Final Girl Support Group, and I know nothing about it. I'm assuming it's like the girls at the end of horror movies, and they have a support group to get over their trauma, and I bet they go through the same thing. Like, do they all get murdered? Is one of the girls a murderer, or were they all murdered by the same? It's going to be fun. I think he's funny. I have read another book by him. I bought this because I love IKEA. I love IKEA, and I love all the IKEA furniture, and I love the IKEA catalogs. And this is a horror book that takes place in an IKEA-like place, but it's designed to look like an IKEA catalog. And I loved it. I bought this years and years ago. Like, do you see it? And it's so fun. So when I saw this at the store, I was like, hey, that guy wrote Horrorstör, a book I loved. So I hope this is like scary, but also funny and like a fun read. So yeah, I bought five new books, new me, and my goal is to read these before 2025. And that should be easy, right? It's just 5 books, and most of them should be quick. Before I go, though, since this is a book haul, I don't plan on making book hauls a regular thing. I did want to mention 2 other books I got. So I was visiting family in Ocean City, Maryland, like on the beach, and I went to this bookstore. Hang on, So it's called The Buzzed Word. I don't know if you can see that. And it's like a wine store / bookstore, and it's a really small store, so it's like a super curated collection, which I love. I love when the bookstore owners put like their selves on the shelves, you know, and it was super nice to walk around and sip a glass of wine, and I hope that is just a thing that spreads. Like, I want to go there all the time. 10 out of 10, hit them up. But I picked this book purely because of the title and cover, but when I read the inside, so this is about an academic. She's studying like art and art history, and she finds this story, and she can't stop thinking about the story. She just keeps chasing it, and she kind of goes crazy, I think, and it just sounded really interesting. So I did buy this, but then because I was on vacation, I like to buy like, you know, like the stupid magnet or the shot glass to be like, oh yeah, I've been to Las Vegas. So in Ocean City, Maryland, I thought it would be fun to just go to the local bookstore and buy a beautiful book So I bought this book. It's by the Bitter Southerner publishers. Like, I think this is a self-published, like, it's cloth bound. It's got like this gold detail on it, and it's a really pretty, like, coffee table style book about peaches. Like, it's just pictures of peaches, and there's recipes for peaches, and there's poems about peaches, and this is just my souvenir from Maryland. Yeah, so I also purchased this. Yeah, I guess this video was kind of a book haul, but kind of a, like, get your shit together and read the books you've purchased. So my new goal for 2024 is to just read these 5 books. And 5 books is easy. I can do 5 books.